welcome back to my channel. My name is Kaylin. This is Full Purpose in Heart. In today's video, I am going to share with you the resource that I have created for our poetry unit here in our homeschool. This is more geared for my 6th grader, but I've also been doing it with my 3rd grader and she's been loving it too. The whole thing was purchased or inspired by one resource that I found on Teachers Pay Teachers. It was a poetry bundle, and then from that I actually created our notebook, which is I'm going to show you in this video how I did that and all the things that you get as a part of that bundle. So if you're trying to put together a poetry unit, then let's go ahead and get started. So when we decided to start a poetry unit, I honestly had no idea how to do it or what my plans were going to be. I just knew that I wanted to do it because I had a stack of children's poetry books that I had been gifted or found at a thrift store or anything like that. So I kind of had this little bit of a collection. I've always been kind of enamored by the idea of poetry tea time. I've tried to do it a time or two in my family, but it's not been very successful. More than anything, it's just a chance to have food that took a bunch of time to prepare. So in all of that, I was like, I know that I want to do this. I just don't know how to do it. Well, when the new year started in January, you may remember when I was talking about my January goals, I mentioned I want to do a poetry unit, and kind of off the cuff, I started with acrostic poems for the month of January. So I just got a piece of paper, I wrote it down the side, I kind of mentioned to my kids, I wouldn't say I taught it to them, but I mentioned like, hey, this is what this poem is, and each line you do da. So that's where it started for us. So then I went to Teachers Pay Teachers and I was like, all right, let's teach the kids poetry. I literally have no idea what that even means. So I typed into Teachers Pay Teachers poetry unit. And among all the resources that I found, one of them was a bundle that had all kinds of different approaches to teaching poetry. And that is how I built this. Oh, and then from there, the second step that I did is I went to ChatGPT and I said, build me a poetry unit. What things would you put in a poetry unit is essentially what I typed in to ChatGPT. So it came up with, these are the 5 themes that ChatGPT gave me. Then the Teachers Pay Teachers resource that I found filled in all of the blanks for that. So I tell that to you for 2 reasons. One, you can kind of see where this came from. But number 2, for anything that you want to build a unit for, whatever it is, sometimes science is a little easier to do, but whatever it is, just search it on Teachers Pay Teachers or put it into an AI program like ChatGPT, and they'll give you some ideas of how you can springboard it and get it going for yourself. So the topics that I'm including are types of poetry, poetic devices, or another word for this is, what is the other word? Figurative. Figurative language is another word for this. Rhyme and rhythm, theme and tone, famous poets. So I went onto my word processing program. I always use PowerPoint. You have to have a membership for it now, but you can probably do it on Canva if you want to. You can get a free account for that. I know that like Google has, I think they're called Google Presentations or Google something. Anyway, they have their own. I can't remember the name of it, but I've tried to do the free versions and I can't figure it out. I always just pay the thing for the Microsoft Office suite because I was raised in the 90s. So that's why I use it. Okay. All right. So when I opened up the resource that I purchased, she had a whole bunch of poetic device or types of poetry. I picked the ones that I wanted. She had a ton, maybe like 15. So I just opened up my thing and wrote on the first page types of poetry and then the ones that I wanted. Then I made like a little shape and that's how I made my tabs. These are just glued on the cardstock to make the tabs. Okay. These are the types of poetry that I picked. Then for each type of poetry in the bundle, she kind of has it built so that one bundle has like class, like pages, worksheets for the kids to do. And one bundle is, or one document, whatever file is like posters. So I would go to the poster file, and that's what this was like a poster that if you had a school classroom, you would stick it up on the board. So I just printed that out and put it as page 1. So when we talk about haikus, then we'll cover this page. Then I went to the student worksheet file and I printed off the haiku worksheets. So she had, this is like a pre-writing, like let's talk about it, let's do it. And I love that she has like, let's make 2 as an example and then decide which of the 2 we liked the best. This is your rough draft for your haiku. And she has all of this editing checklist, again, to help your kids kind of self-edit and make sure that they're using, what does it say? Strong word choices, sensory details. The reader can clearly visualize my haiku. My haiku makes sense. So super, super cool how to do that. And then she also has a presentation or like the final copy page. And I was like, okay, here's a true story. When I first saw this resource, I was like, I can make this myself. And true, I could have made it myself. But there is a line I think that all of us cross sometimes when it's like, could I make this resource myself? Sure. Do I want to spend the time to do it? The answer is no. Sometimes it's yes, but this particular time is no. This resource is so chock full of stuff that it would take me a week to do if I did it full time in a whole week. For example, this, I tried to make this for myself and like, I couldn't find the perfect clip art. I couldn't find the rectangle wasn't perfect. And then I had to put the lines on it. And like, just to create this one page for myself, it took me like 30 minutes. I'm like, I don't have time to do that for all of my styles of poetry that we're going to be using. So in some instances, purchasing and paying the creator to do it for you is worth it every single time. Okay, that's my plug for Teachers Pay Teachers. All right, so then we go and we create the final copy. This is gonna be in our poetry notebook. We'll put it up on our board for a week and kind of look at it. We'll share it. Conveniently, April is the month, is like poetry month. So I'm sure you'll probably have your local library or some kind of people that are going to do poetry contests. So this is a great way to create poetry that then you can submit to a poetry contest. Not that your student is intending to win, but it's something fun. So we are totally submitting it. All right. Another example is the limerick. We did that. I was so proud of my limerick. I also am learning poetry and practicing poetry. And then we also did the sonnet. Here's the sonnet page. It was the hardest one, I will say, of the 3 that we've done so far. Well, 4, because we've done acrostic poems. So anyway, that's part 1 of my poetry unit. Part 2 is figurative language. The way that I'm building my poetry unit is we will do a style of poetry and then we'll do one of the other tabs. Whether we're learning poetic devices or rhyme and rhythm, tone and theme, this one's going to be the last one. So we haven't done any of those yet. That way we're kind of learning about writing and how to kind of decorate. That's not the right word, but you know what I mean? Make more fancy, fun writing as we're writing our poetry so that throughout the unit, our poetry will get better. So things for figurative language, for example, we did simile, metaphor, hyperbole, and personification. We read several poems that had those types of figurative language examples. And we also started using this in our literature unit. So our fiction book studies, we were using this as well. So it was nice to be able to just find examples. Alliteration, again, this was a poster that she had, so I threw it in there. She didn't have any worksheets for alliteration, so I just kind of like made our own. And then she has some sensory details, just trying to teach like how we can make it so that the reader can visualize it a little bit better. Okay. The third part is rhyme and rhythm. Now I haven't done this yet, but we're going to learn about rhyming. We're kind of doing rhyming as we go along. So there's that. But as far as rhythm goes, we're going to do it through songs. And I don't have a worksheet for it. Do I? No. So I'm going to just have like, I'll just print off a song or a poem. And then when you look it up on like Pinterest or the internet, they'll have images of how you teach rhythm, whether you can do it with clapping and then have the kids highlight each break at the correct clap. And then you can teach them how to just to notice the rhythm. And I remember learning rhythm when I was in I think I'm going to say ninth grade is when I learned rhythm in my creative writing class. And so, but knowing the rhythm can help in all areas of life, especially if you have musicians and, you know, if your kids are musicians, then they'll be able to pick it up a lot faster. So, okay. Theme and tone is section number 3. Again, this is a poster that she had in that download. And then when you go to the next like file, then she has different worksheets. So I just kind of like pick and chose. It was a little labor intensive to build this, I will say, and make sure that all the pages were back to back. So anyway, it was a little bit labor intensive, but we did get that. And then the last part of our poetry unit is going to be to look at famous poets and how they used all of these things that we've learned about, all the poetic devices, rhyme and rhythm, theme and tone, and then what type of poetry based on what we have learned. So that's what this page is for, is that we'll pick a poet, read their poem, whether it's long or short, and then find those key pieces of poetic devices so that we can just kind of practice what we've learned. The whole unit, I mean, you could go as fast or as slow as you want, but I have picked 8 different poetic styles. So it's probably going to take me 8 weeks. Well, I mean, I could do it in a month if we did two poems per week, but we're kind of averaging 1 per week right now. And so I suspect we'll be done at the end of April, having gone through all the poetic devices. I have replaced my language arts curriculum that I've purchased for my 6th grader with this. This is what we're doing now, in place of the BJU Press curriculum that I've purchased. I'm not super satisfied with what I'm getting from the BJU Press curriculum, so this is kind of a fun switch, and we'll probably finish off the year with this at the rate that we're going. Who knows? The goal is to try to finish, but anyway, it's been a fantastic unit. I highly recommend the resource. It is a teeny bit spendy, not really that much, but it is a little bit more expensive because it's a bundle, and the creator really did put a ton of time into creating it for us. So highly recommend it. Check the description box below, and I will put that link for an easy grab. It's not a sponsored video. I feel like I always have to throw that in there because you just never know with influencers these days. You just never know. But anyway, yeah, that's my video for today. So thanks so much for watching. Hopefully you found it helpful, got some good inspiration, ideas. If you check me out on Instagram, you can see me doing it live right now in the month of March, and in April, I will show you as we go along and how we're putting it together. Depending on when you watch this video, we may be done with it, but I'll probably have a highlight on my Instagram page. So you could probably find it in my highlights. So anyway, thanks so much for watching, and we'll catch you in another video.